Happy day, students. I hope you are all fit and fine at home. Welcome to another interesting session of Class 8 Grammar Worksheet 2. What are the topics that we are going to revise in this worksheet? Identify and differentiate between phrases and clauses. Understand difference between main clause and subordinate clause. And phrasal verbs. What are phrases and clauses? Phrase, a group of related words that does not contain a subject and is used as a part of speech is called as phrase. That is, a collection of words which do not have a subject and a verb. This is very important. It is only a collection of words which give some meaning. That's called as a phrase. Clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and is used as a part of a sentence or a sentence by itself. So, clause can be a sentence by itself. It can stand on its own. It has meaning, it has subject, it has a verb in it. That is the difference between phrases and clauses. Collection of words which do not have a subject and verb. Clauses are collection of words or group of words which do have subject and verb and it stands on its own. It is a part of a sentence or it is a sentence by itself, whereas phrases are a part of speech. What are the example of phrases? As we said, it's not a complete sentence, right? But it's collection of words. Along a long walk. Sorry, after a long walk. So, after a long walk, what? The sentence is not complete. You still have something to talk about. So it is not a complete sentence in itself. So it is just called as phrase. In a good manner. It conveys some meaning, but it's not a complete sentence. In the park. Again, you can understand something, but it's not a complete sentence. So phrases can be like these, which are collection of words which do not have a subject nor a verb. Clauses are sentences or group of words which stand on its own and which have a subject and a verb. He must stop laughing. This makes complete meaning. You have a subject here, right? You have a verb here. Similarly, they have done their job. You have a subject here. You have a verb here. Tom likes to play. You have a subject here. You have a verb here. So, group of words or letters put together which has a subject and a verb are called as clauses, whereas group of words put together which do not have a subject and a verb are called as phrases. Now, let us look at what are main clauses and subordinate clauses. So, clauses are divided into main clause and subordinate clause. Main clause are also called as independent clause. Subordinate clauses are also called as dependent clause. Now, why are they called as independent clause and why are subordinate clauses called as dependent clause? Let's look at the next slide. An independent clause, which is a main clause, along with a subject and a verb, expresses a complete thought and can stand alone as a coherent sentence. So this is very similar to your clause, what we saw in the previous slide. Whereas subordinate clause or dependent clause, they do not express a complete thought and therefore it is not a sentence, which is more like your phrase. So, independent clauses are sentences or main clauses are sentences which stand on their own. They are complete by itself. They do not need any support or help from anything for them to stand alone. Whereas subordinate clauses or dependent clauses do not stand on their own as they do not express a complete meaning. They depend on the main clause for help or for support where they can stand on their own. Therefore, they are called as dependent clauses as they depend on the main clause for help. So, this is the difference, children. Independent clauses, they have a subject and a verb. They can stand on its own. Subordinate and dependent clauses do not have a subject and a verb and they cannot stand on their own. So, that is the difference. If you look at the examples here, I like bananas. It's a main clause because it can stand on their own. And which is a connectivity, I like grapes. So you can have two main clauses in a sentence with a connector here. right? So these two are main clauses because they can stand on their own. I like grapes is also a complete sentence. I like bananas also are a complete sentence. Whereas after she picks me up, comma, mom is taking me to buy shoes. So mom is taking me to buy shoes makes complete sense. So you have a main clause here. But the previous sentence, after she picks me up, it's not a complete sentence. There's still something that you would like to know. There's still something that it should convey. So after she picks me up is a kind of sentence which does not stand on its own. So it is a subordinate clause. Usually when the subordinate clauses come in the beginning, it is followed by a comma and then the main clause follows the comma. Okay, so this is an example. After she picks me up, comma, mom is taking me to buy shoes. Because mom is taking me to buy shoes makes complete sense. So it's main clause. But here, as this cannot stand on its own, it needs help from the main clause to complete itself. It is a subordinate clause. I first met her in Paris, which is a complete sentence. It can stand on its own. So I first met her in Paris, where, again a connector or a connector, I lived as a small child. Now, I lived as a small child will not give you complete information. Where did you live as a small child? How? So, all these questions arise. Whereas, I first met her in Paris. So, you know clearly that she first met her in Paris. So, that information is clear. It can stand on its own. Hence, it's a main clause. Whereas, I lived as a small child. I lived as a small child does not give complete meaning. And hence, it is the subordinate clause. Like the first sentence where both were main clauses, here you have one main clause and one subordinate clause, but both are connected with a different kind of connectors. So these are the examples where you can have two main clauses connected with a connector, one subordinate clause, one main clause connected by a connector. But the first clause, which is a subordinate clause, it is followed by a comma and then the main clause follows the comma. Clear, children? So these are the examples of main clause and subordinate clauses. What are phrasal verbs? A verb that is combined with an adverb or prepositions or sometimes both together to give a new meaning, such as look after or put somebody off are called as phrasal verbs. Look is a verb. After is a preposition. So when both put together, it gives a different meaning. So such words are called as phrasal verbs. So here we can learn few phrasal verbs with walk. Walk through. Now walk is a verb, we all know. So when it is added either with a preposition or with an adverb, it becomes a new word which has a new meaning. So walk through is explain. Look at the sentence here. Our art teacher gave us brief walkthrough on how to set up the class exhibition. That is, our art teacher explained to us how we should set up the class exhibition. Walk out. Leave suddenly. So just go off from that place. She walked out before the play got over. So before the play got over, she just went away from that place. So that's called as walk out, which is leave suddenly. Walk away. Shirk responsibility or withdraw from a situation. So here there is something which you don't want to do. You just want to get away from the situation. So that's walk away. Neha walked away without giving a solution. So there's something that others are looking at. You know, they want you to give a solution which you don't want to do and you just walk away from there. So that's called as shirking responsibility, which is walk away. So phrasal verbs are words where you have a verb and a preposition or an adverb or both put together to give a new meaning. Understood, children? Thank you for your patience. I hope you have understood the grammar topics well. Kindly revise it again. Thank you.